What's up, guys and gals? It's your host with the most, Griever, as always, bringing you guys the latest chapter review for Kengan Omega. Kengan Omega, chapter 211, entitled Mukaku's Identity. Let's go down with the chapter review. Apologize for being a day late, but Jujutsu Kaisen came out really early, and I really wanted to knock that one off first, because a lot of people were so hyped about what's going on in Jujutsu Kaisen. But we're here now, and even after, and I thought rereading the chapter, giving me a day and stuff, because I did read the chapter yesterday. And I'm not going to lie, there's two things right out of the gate so we can delve into the real issue with this chapter in my mind. Is, first off, I was wrong. I thought I was right last review, and everything was leading towards my theory being correct. Because at the beginning of Omega, we had the doppelgangers, right? We had the guys, the imposters. And it was all connected to the worm. And Mukaku was sort of jumping all over the place with his personality a little bit and stuff, and just something was off about him. Everybody could tell. So my theory, of course, was that this was a worm disguised as Mukaku. However, that is not the case here. So I was wrong. I was wrong. All right, fair enough. And we'll get into this explanation here, but for whether I think my idea was better, because I still don't understand this one, but. The second one is, the end of the chapter is pretty hype. Oma, the true successor of the Nico style, ready to throw down with Mukaku and his much more inferior Gao style, let's be real. Let's just go. Like, this is going to be hype. I hope we actually get a really good fight. I hope the whole next chapter is they fight. I really do. I hope so. And they have Retsudo there and stuff, so they're not, as he said, it's not just one-on-one here, but maybe Oma will be like, everybody stay back. I'm going to handle this myself. He might do that. You never know. But either way, though he was the one to bring up, like, hey, it's like 3-on-1. Though I don't know why he's counting Koga. Well, Himaru's still there, so you never know. But yeah, so those are the two things that I want to get out of the way. One, I guess my theory was wrong. This is not an imposter Mukaku. It is legitimately the Mukaku who invented the Gao style, who invented the Nico style, and taught, Oma's master and all that stuff. Okay. And hype for the next chapter. Great. Let's go down the explanation that was working for me. Everything slowly piling on top like a mountain and connecting. Connecting the connector. Coincidence? I don't think so. But let's worm our way down this path, pun intended. So, Retsudo's explanation, it works just fine. Pretty much that Mukaku is from the original worm by the sounds of it. Already I have questions, but the original, in the inside, there were two crime syndicates. One was called Wu Wang. Now, Wu Wang is the original worm. It's got the twin-headed centipede, the worm symbol, right? There was only 5 members. These 5 members were worth 1,000 in combat. Only one survived, and it was Mukaku. This being the sense that now there's a hole missing in this story, but we'll get to that. First question I have is, who beat 5 Mukaku level people? What crime syndicate took them all out? Because if Wu Wang, which is the original worm, unless my impression is, and we'll get to this, but I think this all leads down to the fact that Wu Wang was taken over by the current worm, and the current worm adopted their symbol for some reason. But that seems a little bit, that's a little too much air gear, taking your emblems sort of idea. So I don't think that's the case, but I'm curious who the hell took them out, because Mukaku survived with heavy injuries. Wu Wang means, is written with the centipede, of course, is written my king. Now, Wu Wang is pronounced as Gao in Japanese. So, several years later, after Wu Wang's downfall, an unidentified man named Mukaku appeared in Japan and attempted to build an organization to combat the worm. Plus, so the defeated syndicate had a 2-headed worm symbol and stuff, right? So that's the worm. I believe that's the worm, right? Like, the worm has always been a 2-headed centipede. I believe it looks almost exactly the same. So, but they also had a number system. And he said the Wu Wang syndicate, members called each other by numbers. And that sounds exactly like the Nikos being called by numbers. So Mukaku adopted what worked in the Wu Wang syndicate and adopted it when he tried to take over the inside. The question is that the inside, of course, was built by the worm. So if Wu Wang is the worm, it's not making a whole lot of sense. You know what I mean? Like, something's off here. Something's really off. So here's where it all boils down to, is the fact that if we take it at face value that the Wu Wang Syndicate was the worm, is the worm, and that's what they're going off of, is that he's like one of the surviving 4 members of the worm. The problem with that is that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, considering he raised the Nikos to fight against the worm. So I'm thinking there was almost 2 worms in a way, like there was a split and they haven't gone back far enough in history or something, because this really isn't adding up. The current worm had to be before Wu Wang, or it had to be before Gao Mukaku's time, because the inside was already set up, and Gao says, you know, I was born in the inside. Well, the inside was created by the worm as a Gu ritual. So, I mean, the Wu Wang could have been the ones to implement it. Sure, it got out of control and stuff. But then, who's this worm he's fighting against? If he's the only surviving member, 4 were killed, he survived with heavy injuries, what worm has he been fighting and training the Nikos in the inside against this entire time? The only real explanation is that it's the ones who took out the Wu Wang Syndicate, the Wu Wang clan. The issue there is, why would they adopt the Wu Wang clan symbol and change the name to the worm if they were already established, as it's been established that they created the Gu ritual that is the inside? It's very confusing. I'm just saying, like something's not adding up here. Something's really not adding up. At face value, it looks like it's adding up. Okay, so Gao Mukaku's from the Wu Wang. The Wu Wang are the worm. And Wu Wang is pronounced as Gao in Japanese, which is also pronounced as written as my king, as in the connector and stuff like that. And he built an organization similar to the worm to combat the worm. So at face value, it looks like it makes sense. But as I just said, a lot of it ain't making a whole lot of sense. The timelines don't add up here. So, Gao Mukaku's statement of being a worm, no, he's not. Because the worm that they've been fighting that started this whole thing is not the same as the Wu Wang Syndicate. It can't possibly be, because they were all killed except Gao Mukaku. If they were all killed except Mukaku, who the hell has he been fighting for 100 years? See how it doesn't add up? So, he's not a worm. So the statements that they keep saying, and even Koga, like when he said he's a worm, he said, "Do you have proof I'm a worm?" He might be from the original worms, but this is a sect. This is another section of the worm or something like that. You know what I mean? That broke off from the Wu Wang stuff. That's my only explanation that's going to make sense, because then Koga asks, if he's a worm, how come he's fighting the worm? And Retsuda said, you should ask him that, but I think I can guess. He had an ambition beyond his station, and he was hammered down. That makes no sense, given what Retsuda knows. Why, if he's a worm, how come he's fighting the worm? If we're establishing that the Wu Wang clan was the worm, or is the worm, how is him having ambition above his station? All the members of his clan are dead. It's just not adding up, right? And what do you mean he had ambition beyond his station and was hammered down? Like, once again, the only way that works, and I just think it's the translation. I really think they should have said that there needs to be a line in this chapter that would clear, I think, all this up if they said, like the Wu clan, right? You know how there's a couple, you know, there's the American set, and then there's Ryan's clan, the Cure clan, and stuff like that, and that kind of idea. And then you have, Edward Wu and all that. Because you have these 3 sects, they're all the Wu clan, they're all the Cure clan, but they've since split many, many years ago. If we had just had a line saying that the original clan, the original Wu Wang clan was the original syndicate, and it grew. The ones who kept to the core values of Wu Wang stayed, and that consisted of 5 very powerful members. Eventually, the current, as of today, the worm that we've known this whole time, was the one to eventually infiltrate and destroy the remnants of the Wu Wang clan, right? With Gao Mukaku being the only survivor. So Gao Mukaku decided, I'm going to, maybe when he says he had an ambition beyond his station and he was hammered down, maybe that's where the the feud between the two syndicates ended up happening, right? The 5 original members were arguing with the other sect, and basically they decided to fight, and the Wu Wang lost against the current worm. So he is a worm, but he's not a worm. Does that make sense to you guys? You know what I'm saying? Sort of like, trying to use something, a good comparison. I guess Power Rangers might work here. Like, all Power Rangers are Power Rangers, but not all Power Rangers are Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. There's only a handful of actual Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Doesn't make the other people not Power Rangers, but Power Rangers have a bunch of different teams and different groups with different Zords and different mentors and different, right? So they're all Power Rangers, but they've broken off at this point, you know? I don't know if that one really works completely, but it's the closest thing I can come to it, is that calling him a worm is sort of incorrect, in a way, if that makes sense. He's not really a worm, he's more of an original worm, before the worm was really the worm. You know, it's sort of like calling Edward Wu a Cure Clan member. You know what I mean? That's even better. Let's do in universe. The way I'm, and I know I'm rambling here, guys, but this is, seriously, this shit to me is very confusing without a better explanation of who destroyed the Wu Wang syndicate, and is it the current worm? Without that information, a lot of the comments by Retsudo here don't add up properly. So, but let's use that. Yeah, so is Edward Wu a member of the Cure Clan? No, he's not. But if you were to say they're all removal, they're blood related, like they're all blood removal people, you know what I mean? Or whatever I'm trying to say, not relatives technically, but you know what I mean? Yes, you'd have to say yes, they are all, you know, a part of that ancestry. They can all trace their units back to the Wu clan, the original Wu clan that broke off. They're all Wus, but not all Wus. There it is. They're all members of the Wu clan, but not all members of the Wu clan are Cure Clan. I think that works. Yeah. Okay, trying to get it straight in my head too here on the fly. But so yeah, that's the big thing for me in this chapter. Okay, so apparently Ryuki's gonna die or whatever like that. Koga attacks him with Flashing Steel Smash. It does nothing because of Indestructible, and Oma just is gearing up to be like, all right, I'm gonna kick your ass. So let's freaking go. That's gonna be hype as hell. What do you guys think of my confusion over this chapter? Like, just straight up, does it make sense to you guys and I'm just nuts? Or and my reading comprehension has really, you know, gone down a lot of tiers? Or did we need a better explanation, or at least more information? If they had just, as I said, if it was the current worm that destroyed the Wu Wang syndicate that Gamukaku was a part of, it would have been extremely easy to just put that in there. Then all this adds up. This all adds up. 2 factions of the worm ended up fighting each other. The current worm won, and Gamukaku hated it and decided to try to created the Tokita Nico thing and the Nico style to destroy the worm. And this would also explain to a degree why 6 and 5, maybe not 6 so much, but why 5 hates Gamukaku, because we've been trained to fight against the worm and you were a worm the entire time. This is making a little more sense if this was the case. So yeah, so that's what I'm going off. And the only reason that this is sort of odd is because Wu Wang is the worm. It's the worm symbol, you know. So he's a worm, but he's not a worm, sort of thing. Anyways, that's where I gathered from this. I'm done rambling about it. I just wish the explanation was a lot better, or they had literally just given us all the lore. Give us all the history, no more questions in the end. Gamukaku just straight up answers them and says, your information, Retsudo, my boy, is just a little bit off. I never did this. Here's what actually happened, and he fills in the blanks for us. Had that happened this chapter, probably would have been a lot more clear. But anyways, when my first couple of reads, I didn't fully get it. But yeah, either way, that's it from me, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'm looking forward to chapter 212, where Oma struts his stuff. Let's go Nico style. I'm still a big fan of the Nico style, so unlike a lot of the community, so I want to see Oma kick some ass. So let's go. happy, you know, I guess Thursday. Yeah, it's Thursday. Happy Thursday to everybody. Like, comment, and subscribe, and sayonara. See you back here next time.